Thank you, everybody. Today, if you can guess, I picked today for today's talk because it's the World Ocean Day. Today we are going to talk about marine invertebrates. A lot of you may know about fishes, maybe sharks, maybe whales, but we're not going to talk about those. We're going to talk about those soft things. A little bit about myself. I went to US for biology study. Actually, I spent also a year in James Cook, which is a very famous marine biodiversity. And this picture you see here, I was actually in Indonesia. I was doing research on the marine parks and collecting sample. I also teach a lot of diving, so I'm really passionate about the ocean. I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I still think I have a lot to learn, but I think I know enough to share with you a few things about the Hong Kong marine animals. So a little bit about Encompass, in case those of you who is first time joining us, we are a social enterprise. So we support the different NGO and community partners. So for example, we do some partnership with the WWF in the City Nature program. We support another NGO called Lumi Foche about the biodiversity work. We created a lot of workshops, and our mission is to encourage people to achieve the SDG. So in case you don't know about the SDG, I just go over very briefly. So there are 17 goals set by the United Nations. So today we are mostly looking at the life below water SDG 14. But actually marine animal is really also affected by the climate action. So some of you might have heard of the climate bleaching, the coral bleaching. That is because of the temperature change, the coral stress out, and the coral expel the we call it the zooxanthellae, the algae. So life below water is very important as well. So I do want to make this interactive, and let's have a little game. So can you guess what is the biggest what is the total marine area in Hong Kong? So we have 4 answers. So yeah, if all of you can participate, that will be more fun for me. Okay, so one of you said 100 square kilometer. Another said 1,600. So anybody know how many islands we have in Hong Kong? Around? So a lot of you may be to go to Po Toi or Lama or a lot of different islands, right? So Hong Kong is actually over 250 islands. So the correct answer for this is actually C, 1,600 square kilometer. That's our marine area. So we do have a lot of marine area. So this is also one of my favorite questions. So okay, let me end this. So you can see the result here. That was our first poll, and now the second poll. So Hong Kong is part of China. So Hong Kong occupied about 0.03% of the marine area in China, but how much does this contribute to the marine species recorded in China? So basically, how many percent of the China recorded species we can see in Hong Kong? Okay, again, quite a mix of answer. So we have somebody guess 26%, a lot of you guess 36%, and the answer is 36%. Sorry, 26%. So Hong Kong only have 0.03% of the area, but we contribute to about 26% of the marine species recorded in China. So if you look at Hong Kong marine biodiversity, Hong Kong is a very small place, but we have as much biodiversity as the Baltic Sea. Not as much as the Caribbean Sea, but we still have quite a number of marine species. So this is my favorite question because I'm a coral person. I really like coral. So let me give you a hint. In Caribbean, there's about 70 species of coral. So do Hong Kong has more coral or less coral than the Caribbean? Wow, really a mix of answer. Huh? So I give you a few more seconds. I think some of you are still answering. So do Hong Kong have more or less species of coral than the Caribbean? Caribbean has 70. Okay, so we really have a mix of answers. Somebody's at 33, somebody's at 55, somebody's at 62. So that's the result. You can see people have diverse view. So the answer is Hong Kong actually have 84 species of coral. Anybody know where we can find the biggest number of corals in Hong Kong? You can unmute yourself. We have a small group here. I think we have about 10 people. Or we can put it in the chat room. Sai Kung. Okay, where in Sai Kung? Where in Sai Kung? Sai Kung is a very big place.
That's hard, huh?
Mouse, you know?
I
Helen, do you know? From Sai Kung.
It'd be Hoi Ha, right?
The answer is Hoi Ha has the second highest number of species of coral. Hoi Ha has 64 species of coral.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, if you want to find the highest number of hard corals, we call it hard corals, those with skeleton, you need to go to Tung Ping Zhao. So Tung Ping Zhao is the easternmost island in Hong Kong, and it's really good in marine biodiversity, and especially since it's very remote. I don't know how many of you have been there. So it has the highest number of corals in Hong Kong. So there are some species that are named after Hong Kong. These are the scientific name. So some species are discovered in Hong Kong and are named in Hong Kong, like the Hong Kong grouper. And in Hong Kong, we have a variety of marine habitats. So like places in Tung Ping Zhou and Hoi Ha, you find a coral bed. In some area like Soi Hao, you find a sandy shore. Some of you might be been to the Cape d'Aglara, so you have the rocky shore. Some places like Long Mei and Hoi Ha have the mangrove stand, on maybe some of you been to Mai Po, and then we have to be in the seagrass bed. So today's presentation, because we are limited by 1 hour, is going to be very skilled for something that I love. So I love coral reef species. I have done maybe 700 dives in various places in around the world. So today I'm going to focus on the coral marine biodiversity. So not saying the other things is not important. It's just like I'm not as interested. I'm not as knowledgeable. So I hope you don't mind. So in Hong Kong, we have different places with different marine biodiversity. So in some places, there's some artificial reef. I don't know, are you guys familiar? Like for example, in Hoi Ha, and in some places in Sai Kung, actually the government intentionally sink some boats. So why do we need the boat? Is because a lot of the marine invertebrate, they need a hard area to settle. We call it hard area for the baby larvae to get a good grabs. So this is where the artificial reefs are. The Chinese white dolphin. I don't know how many of you. Anybody? Miles, have you seen a Chinese white dolphin? Have you seen one? Okay, Miles is not answering me. So Chinese white dolphin, they are mostly in the Lantau Island, and then we have the green turtle, which is in the southern part of Hong Kong. Horseshoe crab, I don't know if any of you seen that. I'll introduce to you in a moment. So horseshoe crab is very interesting as well. You can find them in Lantau, and then we have the seagrass bed. So these are some areas. Nine Pins, I also really recommend. If you haven't been, Nine Pins is also a fascinating area for looking at corals. And then we have Soi Hao. Soi Hao is also really good for clams as well, and the horseshoe crab. So, okay, in Hong Kong, we have 6 marine parks. So as I mentioned, Tung Ping Zhou is the one with the highest marine biodiversity. And then Hoi Ha Wan is the second one. Yan Chau Tong is also pretty good, but Yan Chau Tong is a little bit hard to get into, so it's not many people go into. We have Cape d'Aglara, which is the rocky shore, and then we have the this free marine parks in the Lantau area. This is for the Chinese white dolphins. So okay, my question is, anybody know why corals are only found in the eastern parts of Hong Kong? You can unmute yourself or put it in.
Less pollution.
Not exactly related to indirectly related to pollution, but that's not the main factor. It's indirectly, not the main cause. It's one of the cause, but not the main cause.
Currents.
Okay, almost. So the answer is because on the left side of Hong Kong is the Pearl River Delta. So the Pearl River Delta, meaning it will bring the fresh water to Hong Kong, and marine species need good salinity. So that's why most of the coral are on the eastern part of Hong Kong. So that's why when you hear people going diving, everybody go to Sai Kung, nobody go to Tuen Mun go diving because there's nothing to see there. So that's the reason. Hong Kong is also affected by the current. So in the winter time, we have the Taiwan current and the Kuroshio current from Japan. Actually, if you ask me, I think the diving in Hong Kong is better in the December, in the winter months. The reason being the Taiwan and the Kuroshio current will bring the baby fish to Hong Kong. So you will see the baby butterfly fish or different things. But again, I don't do diving in Hong Kong in the winter very often because it's quite cold. I'm not very good with cold. But this is to show you the effect of the current on Hong Kong. So Hong Kong marine condition is affected by the seasonal temperature. So Hong Kong, if you, I don't know, any of you go to open water swimming, it can get quite cold. So down from 14 degrees in the winter. And also because of the, as I said, the Pearl River Delta as well, is sometimes it has some salinity issue. So yeah, so let's see how much you know about Hong Kong marine biodiversity. So we in biology, I don't know, maybe some of you study biology when you were in high school or middle school. So this is called the evolution tree. We have the fungi, and then we have protozoa, and then we have the cnidarian, which is the jellyfish, and then we have sponges. So don't worry about all this technical, but just to give you an area. So fish is vertebrate. So fish and reptiles is up there. But along the evolution tree, there's different animals. So we're going to cover some of this today. So there are different invertebrates. So now let me ask you a question. So I like questions. So what do all invertebrates have in common? That's the first question. Second question, what is your favorite marine invertebrate? So if none of the thing I mentioned you like, you can put something else. So I'm curious, what do you have? So somebody like crabs. Anybody can that person say what kind of crabs? Is there a specific type of crabs you like?
So I answered crabs. So mostly fiddler crabs, as they're found in mangroves. So they're quite interesting.
Yeah, fiddler crabs, you find that a lot in the mangrove. So some say jellyfish. Who said nudibranch? Who is the person saying nudibranch? I love nudibranch as well. I have a whole album of nudibranch. Anybody answered nudibranch? Or that was a wrong click. Okay, let's see. So actually, the answer for the first question is they don't have a hard internal skeleton. So that's the correct answer for the first question. The second answer, there's no correct answer, but you can see we have some friends who like crabs, some like jellyfish, some like nudibranch, some like sea star. So I would describe all of that in this short presentation. So we answered that. So invertebrate, I love invertebrate. I think for me, I love invertebrate more than vertebrate. They actually cover a lot of most of the animal species we saw in invertebrate. But I think some people, when we are kids, we are taught to like the fish, the shark, the whale shark. We don't talk a lot about invertebrate. They look like not as interesting. But I hope today will show you invertebrate can be very interesting as well. So just a little bit about biology. So in biology, we have this called the hierarchy. So for example, we are a part of animal. We are chordate, meaning we have a vertebrate. We are mammal. We are not bird and reptile. under mammal, we are primates. So we are like the monkey. And then under monkey, we are in the family Hominidae. And then we have the scientific name Homo sapiens. For those of you who study biology, you might know that we usually italicize the scientific name. So that means so you will see some of when I present some of the slide, you will see the scientific name. So you will get this slide, and if you're interested to learn more about the animal, you can Google the scientific name. So the common name is more universal, but the common name, sometimes there's a lot of confusion as well, but there shouldn't be any confusion in the scientific name. So marine animals, so a little bit about biology. So marine, I was talking about settlement. So all marine and invertebrate, they have a larvae state. So they have this floating stage where they are like a tiny piece of dot swimming in the ocean, and then when they're like a coral or some sea star, they actually need to find a place to settle as a juvenile. And then when they settle, so like the sea star, they're not swimming all the time. They actually need a surface. Then they become a benthic adult, so like close to the ocean. And then after that, the adult will fertilize externally. Most of the marine invertebrates are externally fertilized. And then the eggs and the sperm meet, and then they become larvae again. So major groups of invertebrates, we have the porifera, we have the sponge, which is the most not organized animal. We have the cnidarian, jellyfish, coral, anemone. We have the mollusks, we include the nudibranch. And I know a lot of us like squid, octopus, we like clam chowder, we like, probably some of you like oysters, so those are mollusks. We have arthropods, so some of you mentioned fiddler crab before, horseshoe crab, and I will tell you whether horseshoe crab is a crab. And then we have annelids, which is hookworm, and then echinoderm, which is the sea urchin, sea cucumber, sea star. So most invertebrate are called broadcast spawner. So meaning they release eggs or sperm into the water. So I don't know if some of you heard of mass spawning. So some in corals in some parts of the world, like in Australia, in certain parts of the year, they actually do mass spawning. So actually that means different species will release the sperm and egg to get synchronized into the water, and they will mate. So a lot of the marine invertebrates are broadcast spawners. So we talk about porifera. So porifera is the sponge. They are very colorful, coming in all sorts of color. So they don't have any organs or tissue. So if you look at a sponge, the different species, and the reason is I actually don't know the exact scientific name. So sponge can be very hard to identify the species. So that's why there's only a genus name. So they are filter feeder, meaning they feed off of the microorganism into the water. They are like this. They are like an alien surface. They are very encrusting. They live in the surface. And then we have the cnidarian. So cnidarian include the jellyfish, the anemone, like the Finding Nemo type of anemone, and then we have the coral. We have the Portuguese man of war, which is extremely poisonous. And then we have the moon jelly and boss jelly. So I saw some people like the jelly. So these are some of the jellyfish you find in Hong Kong. Did anybody seen this before? Helen, have you seen some of this before in Cyclone?
I wouldn't know. Yes, I have, but probably predominantly the top two on the right, the middle and the top right.
Yeah. So
I think I've seen the other ones.
Cyana in Hong Kong is extremely common. And actually, I just went sailing with my girlfriend last week, and we saw tons of dead cyana. So actually, at a certain parts of the year, some of them are dead, and they will be washed off to the shore and without the tentacles. So this 6 species of jellyfish is the most common in Hong Kong. If you're interested, there's also the Hong Kong Jellyfish Project, which you can contribute to the sighting of the jellyfish. So we have corals. There are 6 types of coral. I mean types as in the shape. So we have the encrusting, which looks like just encrusting in the surface. We have meandering, which looks like a brain curl. We have plating, so this looks like a plate. We have solitary, so they live alone. we have the branching, and this is the massive. So worldwide, we find these 6 types of coral. In Hong Kong, we find most corals are the meandering one or the massive one, or the plating. There are some plating one if you go to Hoi Ha. The branching one, we have some, but not very popular. And the reason is because in Hong Kong, the current is not as strong. So it's hard for the branching coral. But if you go to places like Australia, you find a lot of branching coral. So the hard corals in Hong Kong, they don't live very deep, mostly 1 to 4 meters. But if you go to places like in Australia or in Philippines, where the visibility is much higher, you actually find corals down up to maybe 20 to 30 meters. So as I said, it's dominated by species which are massive and questing or plating forms. So these are some very common corals in Hong Kong. So if you go to Hoi Ha, this is called the lattice coral, Perfuna. So they are like a leaf, and a lot of animals like the fish live inside the leaves like a shelter. And then we have Phyphates. Phyphates is a brain coral. Sometimes they are submersive or encrusting. So you can see like from this shape and this shape, we call this the corallite, this circle thing. The corallite, actually the different shape is telling you the different coral species. So I actually used to work in the Museum of Tropical Queensland, and we have different skeleton of coral to study them. This is it's called Antiporphyria coral. It's also black coral. It doesn't look very black, but actually the skeleton is black. They are more deep water. They have a very dark brown skeleton and looks very mysterious. But you need to go to deeper water to see this kind of coral. And then we have the sea anemone. So in Hong Kong, these are 2 types that are very common. I won't talk about fish in this presentation much, but you can see that there's like a Nemo looking fish here. But in Hong Kong, I don't know how many of you have seen the movie Finding Nemo, like a very cute anemone fish. In Hong Kong, the species is not exactly the very cute Nemo. This is another species called the Clarkii, and this species is very aggressive actually. So if you swim near them, they will come like bite you, like little bites. So they're not very friendly exactly. So now we go to mollusks. Mollusks including a lot of things that we might like to eat, including the octopus. So some of you might like the sashimi, like the cuttlefish. We have squid, we have mussel. So some of you might like go to the restaurant to have mussel, or like a clam chowder or clam spaghetti. So in Hong Kong, we have this called the chiton. So it looks like this really strange looking thing. So they are actually very primitive. And they are like a Jurassic type of animal. They are very long history. So this chiton is very common in the rocky shore. You find them stick to the shore. And then we have nudibranch. I saw somebody click the nudibranch just now. Can that person share why you like the nudibranch? So one person clicked the nudibranch just now.
Yeah, it's me. I chose the nudibranch.
So why do you choose the nudibranch?
Because in Singapore, it's not very easy to find them when they're diving.
Oh.
And they're really beautiful.
Yeah. So nudibranch, they are like sea snail, but without the shell, we call them sea slug. You see them; they are very beautiful in color. So they very a lot of different color, and the color is because actually some of them are toxic. There are more than 200 species of them in Hong Kong, and they are hermaphrodites, meaning they have both male and female sex organs. Yeah, I think they're really cute. If you go to like places like Philippines or Malaysia or Indonesia, we have something called the mud dive. Mud dive, you can actually find a lot of them. In Hong Kong, it's not very easy to see them, but if you go to some places like Hoi Ha, like the deep wreck, you will see a lot of them. So nudibranch is really colorful. We just call them nudie, and just really cute. Just Google nudie, you will find tons of pictures. So now let me show you this. Anybody know what this is? Anybody can guess what this is? So let me give you a tip. It's related to the nudie. Karen, can you guess what this is?
Yeah, the eggs.
The eggs, yes. Very good. Very good. Thank you, Karen. Yeah, so these are nudibranch egg masks. So if they look like, I don't know, they look like layers of something, but it's very common when in the mating season, you will find the nudibranch egg mask when you go diving. Sometimes snorkeling you may see it, but usually I find them in the deeper water. And then we have the kawi. Kawi in Hong Kong is also quite common. So they have a smooth and egg-shaped shell. They are used as currency before in Africa. So maybe you go traveling into somewhere like South Asia or Africa before, you see some of this shell. So these are quite common in Hong Kong as well. Okay, and then now we go to the annelids. So the segmented worm. So in Hong Kong, we don't have the Christmas tree worm. Christmas tree worm really look like Christmas tree. In Hong Kong, we have this, it's called a segmented worm that are closely related to the Christmas tree. When you poke it, it will go back to its hole. So they don't look like worm, right? They don't look like the typical worm you see, but they are actually worm. They live in the little shell, and they will come out as a filter feeder. So you don't usually find them solitary. They usually find in groups, so they live among each other. And then we have the cocoa worm, which is another type of worm. They have two pinkish spiral crowns. This type is solitary. So when you find them, you don't find other crowns. So these are quite common in Hong Kong as well. Bristol worm. Anybody got stung by Bristol worm before? So I hope we don't get stung. They are not very nice. So they're also known as fireworm. If you get hurt by them, it's quite painful. But usually you find them in the sea, but sometimes you do find them swimming in the water. It's not, I wouldn't say it's very common in Hong Kong, but sometimes you do see them. So I have been diving in Hong Kong for over 20 years, actually over 25 years now. Never got stung. So if you just stay careful, it's not very high chance you'll get stung by them. And then we have the sea snail. So we talk about the nudie, which is the snail without the shell. This is the one with the shell. We have the soft coral kawi, which is quite cute. You see the two eye. We have the tiger conch. We have the spindle kawi. So usually you find them with some soft coral as well. And then we have the cone snail. Cone snail is a little bit more dangerous. They can fire their cocoons to kill people. No, not kill people, but kill other fish. They won't kill you, but yeah, they can be quite poisonous. I don't think there's any cases actually people get killed in Hong Kong because of cone snail, but actually they are capable. So they look very small, but they are highly poisonous.
How big are they, Benita?
Not very big. Maybe just like maybe the size of your thumb. They're not very big. They're not very big, but they are highly dangerous. But again, right? With most, it's just like snakes, right? If you don't provoke them, if you don't go harass them, they won't go they don't want to waste your toxin on you. They won't deliberately try to kill you. I mean, as long as you leave them alone. If you see this, they just like swim away. They won't come and find you. I mean, it's not like they can move very quickly. But if you go near them and keep poking them, they might be really pissed off and they might protrude you. So
where in Hong Kong have they been sighted?
Quite many places. Any places with coral, you might see them. So they live near the coral reef.
So make sure you're wearing rubber-soled shoes and stuff like that.
I think in general, I would say if you are not just going to the sandy shore, if you're going anywhere with coral, it's better with the shoes on, because you might have sea urchin and all sorts of different things, right?
Right.
Yeah, I will also introduce the blue ring octopus, which is also very dangerous in Hong Kong. Again, yeah, it's just like snakes, right? If you leave them alone, they won't come and get you. but it's, yeah, definitely wear shoes. So, oops, sorry, no, not this. Sea hare. So this is sea hare. So they look like nudibranch, but they are much bigger. So I would say these two maybe the size of your the whole hand, and they are green in color, meaning so you can see that the color is much less bright than the nudibranch. So they are not poisonous, and they are herbivore. So they actually eat grass, seagrass. So not like the nudibranch. The nudibranch is coniferous. And then, sorry, this title is incorrect, but we have some other snails here, sea snails here. We have the pen shell in Hong Kong, which is quite common. We have the scallops. We have the mussels. So like in Hoi Ha, in the pier, you will see a lot of the mussel, the pen shell. Some people might go and eat them as well. Okay, and then this, anybody seen an octopus in Hong Kong? Sorry, the title is incorrect.
No, but don't the blue ring octopuses hang around Cape D'Aguilar area?
Yeah, some of them. Yeah. So
are they more in the shallow water or deeper?
Both. They can live both in shallow and deeper water. But usually they are hiding out. I haven't seen them a lot. I mean, I've seen maybe 1 or 2 times. They usually, once they see people, they swim away quite quickly. Yeah. But this type, the other octopus, is also quite common in Hong Kong. So some people who go fishing, they will get the octopus. I'll skip this. So we have the squid, the cuttlefish. Anybody know what this is? The white thing on the right side.
Squid eggs.
Squid eggs, yes, squid eggs. So when you go to diving, you will see a mass of them near the bottom. So when it's mating season, and so in Hong Kong, like in the May and June time, squid fishing is very popular. And anybody know when is the best time for squid fishing? Anybody been to squid fishing in Hong Kong? Is well, April, almost a mouse, almost.
Well, I can see all the squid boats from my house, so they were out the other night. But yes, they like the moonlight, don't they?
Yes. So if you go to squid fishing, actually, May and June is the best time. May and June is the best time for squid fishing, and one of the best places for squid fishing is near the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. I don't know, is that where you live, Helen?
No, I'm further north. So I'm more towards I'm like between Country Park and Sai Kung Town, but my bay has, which is kind of between the land and Khao Sai Chau. We get a lot of squid boats there.
Yeah. So in Hong Kong, in May and June traditionally is the squid fishing season, and this cuttlefish is much bigger. You can see it's quite big. In Hong Kong you can quite easily find those as well. So anybody know the difference between squid and cuttlefish?
One's got cartilage.
Yes, so the cuttlefish has a cartilage, has a cuttlefish bone. So some of the Chinese people actually use that as making Chinese medicine soup as well. So, and also squid has 8 So, and then now we have the arthropods, which includes some of the things we really like. We have the crabs, we have the mantis shrimp, we have the barnacles, copperboard. So Chinese spine is lobster. So I know some of us like lobster. this type of lobster is endemic in Hong Kong. Endemic meaning only found in Hong Kong waters. So anybody know when is the good crab and lobster fishing season in Hong Kong? So in Hong Kong, in the October and November, it's very good for lobster and crab fishing. And you will actually quite easy, Helen. You can go to Sharp Island and you'll find quite a lot of this lobster.
I'll be the one protecting them from everybody eating them.
Yeah, so Helen is a vegetarian. So yeah, Helen doesn't like fishing. So these are some other I don't know what happened to the title. Sorry, I'm apology. I don't know why. But these are crabs. In the left side, this is the blue swimming crab, also quite common in Hong Kong. This is the decorated crab. So you can see like in this crab is a hermit crab, and then it has some anemone there. So can you guys why the anemone is living with the crab? So we call it the commensalism in the biology. So the anemone is getting benefit because he has like the crab moving around and giving it going to different area to feed. The crab doesn't have any benefit, but it's not being harmed as well. So he's quite happy. This is also quite a funny looking. We call it bread crab as well. Yeah. So these are some of the streams in Hong Kong. The hinge-beak shrimp, this is very common in the coral area. The banded coral shrimp, also very common in the coral area. I personally really like this anemone shrimp. They're really tiny. They're maybe the size of your fingernail. And they live near the anemone. Yeah. So these are some really common types. So mantis shrimp, anybody like eating them? Or anybody seen them before?
I like eating it.
You like eating it? Oh, okay. So Miles, can you tell me what are the two major types of mantis shrimp? How can we tell them apart? How did they attack people?
They use their
People.
claws.
They use their claws. Yes, Miles, that's correct. So mantis shrimp are divided into spearer and puncher. So if you look at the arm, like this one, maybe the way it's attacking is like a spear. It's like sharp pointing, and then pointing at the animal is trying to attack. And then we have some is like pusher or puncher. So it's like a fist. It's punching other people. So not other people, but other like small animals, so it can eat them. So this four mantis shrimp are most common in Hong Kong. Anybody know what is the Cantonese name? Any Cantonese speaker here? Anybody who know how to speak Cantonese? You know what mantis shrimp is in Chinese? Okay, so I will tell you, it's called Lai Liu Ha. So literally, it means it's peeing shrimp. Anybody know why? Why is it called the peeing shrimp?
Because they pee a lot.
They pee a lot, yes. So if you poke them, they actually pee. So we actually call them peeing shrimp in Cantonese. So yeah, I don't know. Do you know that before, Miles? Hi, Miles. You there? Okay, so this is the peeing shrimp. Okay, and then we have the horseshoe crab. Anybody know horseshoe crabs really crabs? Are they related?
Yes.
No, they're not related to crabs. They are more closely related to scorpions, spiders, I think.
Yes, thank you, Karen. So horseshoe crab are more related to scorpion. They have a lot of legs. So horseshoe crab have 10 legs and also have 10 eyes. We call them a living fossil. They are not true crabs. They yeah, a lot of them. And in and anybody know why the butt? You can see here why the butt is blue. Anybody know why? So our blood is red. So why is our blood red?
Is it because they're cold-blooded?
No, it's not related to the cold-blooded or not.
It's because they have copper instead of iron.
Yes, they have
Like
copper
blood.
instead of iron. So our blood is red because we have the hemoglobin. So that's why it's our blood is red in color. And the horseshoe crab, their blood has copper. So that's why it's blue. And actually, horseshoe crab is facing extinction and facing threats because a lot of the people are using the blood as the medicinal purposes. So they find that there are some like very good antibacterial quality. So in Hong Kong, actually, more than 90% of the horseshoe crabs has been extinct because of the overdevelopment, pollution of the breeding slide. If you really like going to see a horseshoe crab, I would recommend you go to Soi Hao. Anybody been to Soi Hao? It's near Pui O, near Cheung Sa in Lantau. In that area, if you are lucky, I would recommend you go in low tide. Low tide, find it in the tide pool. You might be able to find some horseshoe crab babies. So actually, in CTU, they have done some research on the horseshoe crab, and they breed the baby crabs in the lab and then to release them. So the reason is because very small baby crabs are very susceptible to like risk. So if they're a little bit bigger, they have a higher chance of survival. So if you want to learn more, you can go to horseshoe crab and Google CTU. You'll find they work there. So we're going to echinoderm. I like echinoderm. So I don't know how many of you know that sea cucumber and sea urchin is related. I actually did my research in sea cucumber. So this is a sea cucumber. So actually not all of them are black color. So I actually took this picture. This is, we call it sea apple, also quite common in Hong Kong. It's quite colorful. We also have the thorny sea cucumber. So here, anybody know what are these white things? So why is this sea cucumber have these white things coming out? Anybody have that happen to them? Helen, have you seen this before?
No, but I'm wondering, is it for reproduction?
No. So actually, what happened is if you provoke a sea cucumber and he's not very happy, okay, he's going to exclude his intestine out. So this is his intestine. And it's highly sticky. So I really recommend you don't try to piss the sea cucumber off, because it's very hard to get them off. I mean it's possible with some warm water, but it's quite tricky. So the sea cucumber is part of the echinoderm. So they are like the sea star. So if they lost some of their body part, they can regenerate. So it's not like the sea cucumber after digesting the intestine will die. But just like most animal, right? If you injure them, then they take a long time to recover. So I did piss off a few sea cucumber before, and I got really like sticky. So I really don't recommend it. And then we have the sea urchin. So some of you might know the Japanese eat the sea urchin, like quite popular. So the Hong Kong sea urchin, I wouldn't say it's not edible. I would say it's not very tasty. So I think it's a good thing. So that means nobody is picking up the sea urchin. So there's still quite a lot of population. You can find it in them in Hong Kong. So this is a decorated urchin. Actually, you will see a lot of the different different like seagrass or different shells sticking to it. This one is called a long spine sea urchin, diadema. So actually, in Hoi Ha a few years ago, there was a large die-off of the coral. And there was some debate whether that die-off is because of the sea urchin affecting the ecosystem. Okay, anybody see an eight-armed sea star before? So not far farm. Mouse, have you seen an eight-armed sea star before?
I didn't even know they existed.
Yeah, so not all sea star have 8 arms. Have 5 arms. Some have 8 arms, and in some Hong Kong, some have 12 arms. So I I actually have a good picture to show you at the end. So actually some sea star have more than 5 arms. And then we have something called a brittle star. And anybody seen them before? So the brittle star is a relative of sea star, but it's called brittle. It's because the arm is very easy to fall off. So they detritus feeder. So some sea star are carnivore, they eat other things, but this eat detritus, and they're nocturnal, meaning they come out at night. Yeah. So quite interesting. This brittle star, I really like them. Feather star. Anybody seen a feather star before? So they are really colorful. They can walk in the benthic area. They can swim like this, and some animal life in them, and they have like many arms. So they are actually relative of sea star. And if you go night diving, this is really common. They are more active at night. They will in the morning it's usually like this in the top. They will roll up. They are not very active, but in the night they actually go out at night a lot. If you go to places like Philippines, Indonesia, it's very pretty to see them.
Aren't they poisonous?
Not poisonous. Not poisonous.
Yeah.
No, they just look very colorful. Okay, we have it's invertebrate, but this is closely related to invertebrate. It's called the tunicates. So tunicates have closely related to vertebrate, but it's still invertebrate. Their notochord is in the animal larval stage. Sorry, I don't have a very good picture of those in Hong Kong, but if you can see that there's two holes. So it's not like sponge. Sponge have many holes, but this have one main hole and one small hole. It's very easy to confuse them with sponges, but they are more strong. And we call it sea squirt. And actually in Korea, I know people actually eat sea squirt. Yeah, I've been to a seafood market and they eat sea squirt. From what I see in Hong Kong, I don't think people eat sea squirt, but apparently in Korea, it's a delicacy. So some of you mentioned fiddler crab. So this is called a splendid fiddler crab with a very nice color, nice one arm. We have different crabs. We have muskeper. So I won't go into detail of mangrove species. This is chiton. So I mentioned this is the primitive species. Barnacles is also very common. So if you want to see this type of invertebrate, you can go to Cape Diagra. I really recommend it. It's beautiful. And how many of you been to Hoi Ha? Helen, have you been to Hoi Ha?
Yeah, but I haven't been able to like go snorkeling yet.
Oh.
I've just like done the hiking around the perimeter.
Yeah, I really recommend everybody, if you have not been to Hoi Ha, and is it Nancy? You said you've been to see the glass bottom boat, or is that somebody else?
This was me, I think, but anyway, yes, that's worth doing.
Yeah, so I really recommend if you go to Hoi Ha, don't only go to the glass bottom boat. Really go snorkel, because you will be able to see most of the species we talk about. This is the jellyfish that I said is very common. Obviously, you see a lot of fishes here, which I didn't describe, but a lot of the marine animals we saw today. Dongpingzhou is also very nice. The only challenge with Dongpingzhou is a little bit harder to get into. So you will need to take a boat from Maliu Shui Pier about an hour and a half. But in the summer, I still feel if you're up for a day trip, Dongpingzhou is also very nice to explore the marine animal that we talk about. So Shui Hao Wan, I mentioned this place is very good for horseshoe crab. It's also, unfortunately, is also very famous for clam decking. So this is in English, in Chinese, but basically it's saying the clams has reduced a lot of population because people are clam decking. And actually WWF asked people to measure the clams. If they are smaller than 4 centimeters, they should let them go. Unfortunately, I think most people don't follow that rule. So my suggestion is not go to clam decking at all.
Where is this, please, Benita?
Shui Hao Wan.
Where is that?
It's in the southern Lantau, so it's near Ha Chang Sa and near Pui O.
Right. Okay.
It's very beautiful. I really recommend. But if you go there, I recommend you go there on the low tide.
How
So
do you get there?
Sorry,
How do you get there?
you take a bus. You take a bus from Dongchong or Mui Wo.
Okay.
So
Alright.
it's like 2 stations away from Ha Chang Sa.
Right.
But my really recommend if you go, do check the tide table.
Okay.
Because if you go to high tide, you are not able to see all the horseshoe crab and other thing. You just see like water and it's a little bit hard.
Right.
So check the tide and make sure you go there on low tide if you want to see something.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you see, actually, I took this picture. So I was in Hoi Ha Wan last year, and Hoi Ha Wan is a marine park, meaning you should not pick up anything that are alive. You just basically cannot pick up anything. But unfortunately, there are people who are picking up the sea star for making maybe soup. So we call it eco-vandalism. So unfortunately, I think with most things in Hong Kong government, they're not very effective. The warden is not very good at catching them. But if you see people doing this in the marine park, you should report them. So, okay, now I have a few quiz before we end. Arthropods. So we talk about arthropods. So arthropods are things with segments. So let's see if you can include them. So I have 2 questions. Arthropods are species that not include, and horseshoe crabs are called living fossil because, and sea star moving using what? So I'll give you a few moments there. Okay, haha, I see a mix of answer, which is quite funny. So actually, arthropods include crabs and spider and insects. They both have different segments. Starfish are echinoderm. So starfish is related to sea cucumber and brittle star and feather star and all that. All of you get the second question correctly. Horseshoe crabs are called living vessels because they haven't changed in millions of years. Starfish use, I actually didn't explain this a lot. Maybe I'll explain it now. Sorry, let me escape this. Oops. And oh, this is the jellyfish project. If you want to report your sighting, this is really good as well. So so actually, this is the tube fit of the echinoderm. So actually, the sea star using this this little tube fit for locomotion. They use this to move around. So if you can see this, this is called the tube fit. So yeah, excellent, everybody. So I know some of you, like Helen or Karen here, has joined my eco tour. So Helen, this is the 8-arm sea star I talked about. You see, it's really big, right? I took this in Shark Island.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So you actually, if you want to see this type of sea star, they don't live in very shallow water. So you might need to snorkel down up to maybe 4 to 5 meters to find them. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know how many of you are divers, but actually you can also participate in, we call it the Hong Kong Reef Check. So it's a citizen science. So you will go around and record the coral coverage, what we call the marine biodiversity. So that's one way to learn about the animals as well. So I have a few minutes leave. I know I give you a lot of information, but yeah, sorry, my presentation is usually quite informative. I hope you like it. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions about anything I discussed today.
How come insects are part of the same thing as crabs, but not starfish?
Oh, okay. So So insects, part of this, we call it the arthropods. So they have like a hard exoskeleton, and they have like different segments, like the prawns are different segment, the crab are different segment. If you look at the streams, they have like they have the legs and the segment as well. But if you look at the echinoderm, which is this part, okay? So the echinoderm, we call it, they have the radial symmetry. So a radial symmetry, meaning like for example, sand dollar or sea urchin or the brittle star, they are either 5 or 8 or 12. So they have like a circular symmetry, but you don't see them having legs. Like they have the tube feet, but not like the legs like the insect. So that's why sea star are echinoderm, and they have also like we call them having like a vascular system. They are using the internal water to move, but the insects or the crabs, they use the leg to move. They don't use the tube feet or the internal vascular system to move. So that's the difference. Thank you.
Sorry, I have a question. Since we're on the starfish, it might sound really stupid, but do these things don't have a blood supply or a heart lung system like we do? So
no, they don't.
So what are they similar to as on land, like a land animal?
Oh, that's a hard question. It's different because in the water they can use this to move around. I think the echinoderm is hard to find something similar in the ocean. So like all this, like echinoderm, all this thing you see,
right,
okay, is in the water, but the arthropods is different. Arthropods, like the insect, you can find them on land.
Right.
So it's a bit different. I think echinoderm is strictly marine. Yeah. So it's a bit different. Arthropods, like the crabs, sometimes you find them in or insects, you find them on land, but not the echinoderm.
So arthropods have a more similar life support system to land animal, like mammals rather. They have a way of breathing. They have a heartbeat.
They don't have lung or heartbeat as well because they are also invertebrate, but they have a different system for them to move around. So even the most advanced invertebrate, like the tunicate I mentioned with the vertebrate, they also don't have the heart and lung like we usually do. Yeah. So the lung is for mammals, right?
So how do crabs breathe?
Oh, they have the gill.
So they have gills as well, like fish.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It sounds like a really odd question, but I never thought about it.
Anybody else? Could you recommend a book? Oh, okay. Let me see. Maybe I will put that in the post-event email. There are a few good books, good for the marine. The AFCD actually has some good books on the marine biodiversity, but it's sometimes very difficult to get them in the bookstore because they are not very popular books. But I will send them in the reading list in the post-event email. Yeah, a simple one for over understanding. So marine invertebrate is really complicated. So like today I'm like, for example, just for the echinoderm, right? You have the shrimp, you have the barnacles. Sorry, not the barnacle, echinoderm here. You have the sand dollar. I don't know if you have seen some of this, that you have the crino. So I'm not able to cover all of the species today because we just have 1 hour, but I'm just showing you like the most common species so you have an idea. So yeah, my best suggestion is for you to go to somewhere like Hoi Ha or Shark Island and really go snorkeling and try to look at more animals. Miles, you have any question for me?
I have a question about Sharp
Yeah.
Island.
Yes.
Sorry, Miles, did you have something to say?
How many species of horseshoe crabs are there?
Oh, how many species? Okay, good question. So in Hong Kong, we have 3 of the species that are found. I think globally there are about 10 species of horseshoe crab in total, different species. But in Hong Kong, we find 3 of them. Yeah.
So Benita, my question was with Sharp Island, because now I've been twice and I haven't seen very much. Sharp Island, you need to go at low tide so you can walk over the sandbar to the other island. So where do you see the diversity of marine life? Because you get off the pier and you have, if you're facing the island, you have that small snorkeling area to the left, which looks like government watched, but it's gazetted it off at the moment, or it was a few weeks ago. And then you have the long beach. Where do you go to go snorkeling and see things?
Yeah, so this is Sharp Island map. So you're mentioning this one. This one is the Tombolo. So you can walk through this in the low tide. So the best marine area to see is here.
Right, okay.
This area is where most of the corals are. If you go this area, at the right side of the Tombolo, you don't see much. So you must go to this side if you want to see the coral. Actually, it's very easy. If you're in here, you just walk here, maybe 2-3 meters, you will be able to see the coral. So not the whole island will have the coral. You need to go to this specific area. So actually, like on a weekend, you will see like maybe 8 or 10 diving boats all around this area, because this is the places where you find the most coral.
And when you walk over to the island, is there anything to see around the coastline of the island that's important, or it's really just going over there just to see it, but really you want to stay at number 4?
I would say if you are looking at the marine species, then you really just concentrated in number 4. But if you say, oh, I want to look at maybe the trees and everything, then the whole island is very nice. But for me, right, even for night diving, I go to number 4. I just go to this area, and there's so many things like the crabs, the brittle star, the feather star I mentioned. Like one time I actually see a white-tipped reef shark, and I also actually see a small ray in Sharp Island. So Sharp Island, we have a nickname. It's called the Hong Kong Maldives. So it's a very easy to get to a place, but actually there's a huge range of marine biodiversity. You can see that. I'm happy to go with you next time. You can find me. I will show you.
Just shout, you know where I live.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, so I guess that's it for tonight. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed tonight. And if you can just keep me in, pipe me maybe in the chat room, let me know what you think. I will send this presentation to you. I'm very generous with my material, so if you think anybody can benefit from learning marine animal, please do share. I really believe more education is the better for the world. So thank you everybody for joining, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you very much.